Good morning, good evening, wherever you are. It's Caleb with Stain and Two Experts podcast. Joined today with my good friend Kurt Earl here.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, how we doing today? Glad to see you. Glad to see you.
Glad we're here.
Thanks for showing up.
Hope you guys like the intro. I think that gives everybody a little bit of time to get in and sit down and get on the show. But today we want to do an episode called Why Pre-Stainers Win. Just wanted to throw a little light on the pre-stain opportunity out there.
Yeah, for sure. Pre-staining for us has been a big subject or a big point of emphasis. As everybody calls in, they say, hey man, I'm a pre-stainer, I'm getting into the business, I'm curious, I already build things, but what can I do to help get my feet wet? And so the question I always I asked is, well, what have you been doing? Right? Have you been passing everything off? Do you have those contacts in market? Do you have the ability to, if you do stain, do you pre-stain? That's the first question I ask. Do you pre-stain? And they say, well, no, but I'm looking to just go through and stain. Okay, well, that's fine. But what I want to find out from you is, why haven't you offered that before? Now that you're doing this, don't think about passing to anybody else. Take the opportunity to go in it because there's so many more advantages to pre-staining, as Caleb was mentioned earlier. We got started.
Why don't we define what pre-staining is for everybody?
Shoot for it, buddy.
All right, so pre-finishing lumber, pre-staining, factory finishing, a lot of different words, but basically we have two options for staining wood, and that's going to be in the field after the job's installed, or we can install it, or we can pre-stain it, before the installation by doing it in a factory or on the job site, where we would actually take the lumber itself, the pieces of dimensional lumber, run it through some sort of a pre-staining machine, a dunk tank operation, or even setting it up on sawhorses and staining it by hand with a brush or the sprayer. A lot of different ways to do it, but that would be it, where we can stain all sides of the lumber before it's installed. Yeah. So I got a couple talking points here, and I'm going to hit on the advantage of pre-finishing. So anytime I think about pre-staining, the first thing that comes to my mind is U.S. Forest Products Lab studies. There was a study done, I don't know how many years ago, but the study lasted for over 25 years. They took cedar siding and they took and built a panel out of pre-primed and then pre-stained cedar siding, and they built these panels out of it. And then they did the same thing to other panels, but first, before they stained them, they let them sit in the sun for 10 days. So the first set was pre-stained in the factory. The other set was installed for 10 days in the sun and then was finished. And 25 years later, the difference was night and day. 5 years later, the difference was night and day. So to give you an idea of what it looks like, you can look this study up. But about 25 years later, the one that was factory finished still looked pretty decent. The one that was 10 days in the sun was, there was almost nothing left. I mean, it looked like there was just a couple spots of stain left on there. And the reason that study was so important was because it let us know that even 10 days of UV damage can make it such that it can really reduce the life of lumber or the coating, just that little bit of UV damage. So that's the thing that always comes to my mind. We can get a lot better longevity out of our wood and out of our finish if we can stain it before the sun gets to it. So couple I'll let Kurt, I'm gonna name these and I'll let you talk about it a little bit.
Sure.
So some advantages that we get is protection against weather and moisture damage before it's installed, enhanced durability and lifespan of the wood, reduced on-site labor and time, improved product aesthetics, and then consistency in finish and quality. So those are some of the top features and benefits of that. So what are you seeing? Because you're doing a lot of customer service and success. What are you seeing from people calling?
So from my day-to-day, we get a lot of people that call in and just simply say, hey man, they talk about their pain points first, right? They introduce the fact that we're slowing down staining because we're going into wintry months. Or my market, I'm in Canada, and I don't have the ability to go outside and stain. And so my question then lies, well, what were you planning on doing? If you're a part-time stainer, I understand. You go out, you do your 3-month bid, you get your equity for the summer stint, and you go into your regular day job and you'll hang Christmas lights. Hey, a lot of applaud for you for there. But those that are looking to do this on a full-time scale and they're scaling their business. I talked to one contractor in particular today where I've noticed that he had a 137% increase in his revenue. And I said, what were you doing? He says, well, I'm staining year round, right? And I said, well, what does it look like to you to go from staining part-time to staining year round? He says, well, I just resourced myself and gave myself the ability to do more. I said, elaborate, unpack that for me. He said, well, I started pre-staining. I said, what did you find when you started pre-staining? He said, well, if I give the opportunity to ask this question just like this, if I tell them what fence I would like, I asked them what fence they would like, excuse me. And then I say, hey, Caleb, so I'm coming to you, what fence would you like installed? And you say, hey, get me a 6-foot dog-eared, fence. Great. He said his next follow-up question was, what color would you like it pre-stained in? He's eliminating all doubt or any follow-up questions, and he's solving a problem that they didn't know that they had. Mm-hmm. They had no idea they had that problem.
They didn't know they could get it.
They didn't know. And they were like, and so then the question comes up, you can do this. So now you've built trust. You've established more of a price to get them taken care of, identified a problem they didn't realize they had, and they're more apt to go ahead and get that service. You can bundle in the prices with them. And so I told him, again, so unpack that. So how successful was this? And he says it wasn't so much that it really worked early on, but he said I was able to build a habit. And I realized that if I wasn't staining outside, where I'm reducing the overspray, where I'm able to go and solve the problem by building and installing decks or fences or pergolas, what have you, he said I did find out that it was just a muscle memory of me asking that, and I was more prepared to, equipped to answer the questions of why I want to pre-stain because it has better longevity, why it looks, it's a cleaner finish, there's no overspray. The neighbors would still, love you as a neighbor because you're not getting it all over the cars or having to pay for car wash services we see in the marketplace. And it's uncomfortable to have those conversations. Obviously, many of you know about the staining machines that we have, but not just to talk about what we offer, but just in general. How does it benefit you in the wintry months? It's so, do you look at that as an opportunity to service your community even more so, or is it still a pain point to say, well, the weather's not available to me, it's cold outside, the moisture, I don't know if the moisture content in the wood can withstand us, staining in those conditions, so forth and so on like that. What have you found?
I think the first thing that probably a lot of stain contractors, because I know this show primarily is followed by stain contractors, the first thing they're thinking is, oh, Caleb's trying to put us out of business with the pre-stain machine. And I think not. The opportunity here obviously is there for fence guys, deck builders, et cetera, to pre-stain. But the real opportunity that I see for a staining contractor is offer the service that no one else will. Because how many fence guys out there could benefit from having that ability to offer the pre-stained lumber in any color out there? And if you're the stain guy in town, you can offer that for them. And secondly, one of the biggest problems I see in the industry for people who run a full-time service business, it doesn't matter if they're a big franchise or if they're one location doing it out of the back of their truck, is winter months. A lot of stain companies, the majority of them, they're shutting their operations down in the wintertime. They're laying off their team and they're hiring them back, and they're hoping they can get their team back, and they're having to reboot every spring, Q2 every year. They're having to rehire people, retrain. They're having to find new people because some of the old people took other jobs.
Yeah.
And so the quality of worker they're able to get is just not there, because who wants to take 6 months out of the year off in some of these seasons? So in some of these markets. So I see the pre-stain opportunity as an opportunity for the wood care contractor to offer pre-stain services for everybody, for deck builders, for patio builders, for pergola builders, for fence companies, for covered porch installers, you name it, for trim guys that do trim, we'll pre-stain the trim for you. So you take it, all you got to do is clear coat it, or we'll pre-stain it and clear coat it for you. And I just want guys that do this business to be thinking of the broadening thought process of, hey, how can we do more of what we do best, and that's stain wood. So there's a lot of demand for it. There's more demand for it than we think, because a lot of people just don't know it's even an option.
Right.
And again, diversify your services, and it will help you keep those key players on your team, better employees, and it'll help you feel confident about paying your guys more money, because I'm going to be able to keep them on through the wintertime. And just to give you an example of somebody that I know, you talked about a guy that had success. I know a guy that I talked to a couple years ago in Oklahoma, and he had 2 to 3 pergola packages a week that showed up to his shop, which is just dimensional lumber. I'm guessing the average pergola is probably 50 pieces or less of lumber, dimensional 2x6s, 2x10s, 6x6s, things like that. And he got $500 a piece out of them. This was 3 or 4 years ago, and he would send 2 or 3 to his shop every week. Now, this guy had a full-time staining business, and when they had downtime, when it was rainy, when it was cold, he was doing pergolas,
Right.
and they just showed up like that. They showed up to a shop. So I always was kind of envied that a little bit, thinking, man, I wish I could do something like that, because it's revenue, it's extra business that you can do. So Kurt,
I want to bandwagon on what you just said. A lot of times we find people that'll say, they'll call in and they say, "Hey man, can I go ahead and stain something at 18%? Can I go ahead and get?" They want to get that last little bit of, I call it cutting corners, to get jobs finished. With pre-staining, you don't focus on cutting corners. You minimize the risk. You give yourself the ability to scale in a clean way. I said that. Now, I say clean because I'm playing on words. You're reducing overspray. You're not worried about getting stuff on vegetation, all that other stuff, defaming people's the siding or the concrete slabs, whatever. But you also know what you're getting when you pre-stain. It's inside conditions. But even more so, my concern is going back to customer service. You have the ability to solve the problem the customer didn't know that they had, that they didn't know, the question that they didn't even know that to ask. And you're there before you outsource to somebody else, and you lose a few dollars, and you come back and say, "Man, I was giving it to somebody else, and I didn't realize my ability." Pressure washers are the same. They go through the same thing, right? Well, they ask, "Hey, who do you know that stains?" "Well, I'm already here. I can stain." "Well, I'm already here building. Let me go and get this problem solved for you, get this taken care of for you too." And even if they can't, you become somebody that they can trust because you identified a problem that they didn't realize they had, or they're going to have to solve.
this is true. And what I'm hearing is, I think there could be a disconnect maybe in how to market this or how to get this off the ground. Because what I've heard from a lot of guys, that there are probably some of you guys listening right now, for years, I'm going to do pre-stain. I'm going to get that going. I'm going to be the pre-stain leader in my market. I'm going to get it going. And we see 1 year, 2 years, 3 years go by, and it's still, well, one day I'm going to do that. And so let's talk about how we would market this, and then we'll talk about we'll get a little deeper on the strategic, the strategy and the tactical stuff of actually doing this. But social media and online advertising, the biggest problem with pre-staining, I think, is obscurity. No one knows what it is. They've never heard of it. They don't know it's an option. They don't know that they can go down. Imagine if you could go down somewhere and pick out your fence or your deck. You go to Lowe's or Home Depot and you go pick out, or a furniture store, you go pick out the kitchen table you want. Well, it comes in 3 different colors or 5 different colors. You go pick out a rug at Lowe's, it's a different color. You pick out your appliances, it comes in, they come in every color now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So imagine if you had a showroom, no matter how big or small, it could be even an outdoor showroom, where somebody comes and says, "I want my fence to look like that, and I want it to be in that color." And so just a virtual showroom that you did, even if you did it on social media, would open the door to possibilities for people to say, "You know what, that guy who owns that fence company, he does pre-staining, and we can buy a stain fence from him. We just want to get it done all at once."
That's right.
And so social media is going to be a great way to do it. And you can target specific customer segments too. So you're not, it doesn't matter what business you're in. There's a customer in every business who needs a cheaper alternative. There's going to be people on fixed incomes. There's going to be people who are just flipping properties and they just need the bare minimum. It doesn't matter what you're in, you're going to have those. But there are also, on the other side of the coin, there's people who want to get the best. They want to get good stuff. They're looking at cost of ownership versus the price today. So maybe a pre-stained fence costs a little more to have built, but it probably costs less than having it stained 2 years down the road, and it's going to look better and last longer. So going to those people who maybe are in a little nicer neighborhood, maybe the people who are a little more focused on quality is something you want to do. And then obviously you can offer promotions or discounts to attract new clients. And you can do that through saying, "Mr. Customer, if we stain the fence after it's built, it's going to cost this. But because we're going to use less manpower and less material, if we factory finish it, and we're going to reduce risk that we're also concerned about, we could do it for this discounted rate," which might be a little less. So
we'll piggyback off that. You mentioned a point earlier about, let's say that you can save on costs and things like that. Let's say that there was damage, right? Typically people, I had some boards that defected and things like that. Can you go back and spray? And what do they always say? "Well, I'm afraid the color is going to be different." Or, will it be a shade? "Well, I'm using this board picket." Well, if it's pre-stained for repairment or handyman, maybe you can add that in your arsenal for repairment, right? Opportunity to go back and just say, "Hey, I'll come back," and you can do a, not auto ship, forgive me, but you can do a plan to where they can come back. You can say, for a monthly fee, if anything breaks or damages, a warranty, if you will, they're able to come back and service it. If anything defames or breaks, we'll come and replace it. It's already pre-stained. We know your color with the selection, and just put it up from there. So you brought that point up, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, so a lot of opportunity there in that front. Now, some challenges you may think of, you guys are thinking about right now is, well, how do I do it? How do I get the equipment? I don't have the space for it. I don't know how. I don't have the manpower. So first of all, equipment to do it with and the material. You already have the stain, or you already know someone like Expert Wood Care who can get you your stains, and those stains are compatible in pre-stain operations.
Yeah.
So what about the equipment? There's so many ways you can do it. We see people that are setting sawhorses up. They're staining things on sawhorses and letting them dry. We see guys that stack lumber up in their backyard and spray it, and then they take it to the job site. We see guys that do dip tanks. Dip tanks are really popular. A lot of the lumber that comes from many places that is pre-stained is dipped.
That's right.
And then of course we offer a pre-stain machine that can be used in a warehouse, in your shop, in the back of your truck, on the job site. You can do it many different ways. One of the favorite ways I like to see it done is literally stain it on the job site, run the board through the machine, and hang it right on the fence, so we don't have to take up additional space or labor and time. But staffing and training, how are we going to get guys up to date on staffing and training? Well, I'll tell you one thing. If you can build a fence, or if you can stain a fence, you can pre-stain one. The level of skill is much lower in pre-staining than it is to build a fence or a deck, or to build a house, or to even go out and mask things off and minimize any risk when it comes to staining a job on the job site. So you're going to find pre-staining is just lower. You just don't need intelligence there, and I say that in the kindest way, because it does not require a ton of intelligence, because you literally are running a board through a machine, you're running a board into a dip tank, and you could almost train a really smart border collie to do it. So
Yeah.
so that's something to consider. You don't have to have geniuses out there doing it, and I hate to say, it sounds awful saying that, but it's true. And because I think that's a lot of the problem why a lot of guys don't get in the staining business, is it's not has to do with intelligence as much as it has to do with attention to detail.
That's right.
Quality craftsmanship and workmanship, and you just don't have to have that. That is not required with pre-staining, because if you follow the process, the pre-staining operation will pretty much run itself.
I want to talk about two different points here. And family, bear with me, because I actually wrote these down because they hit me differently. And every time I read them, I think about them differently. But I always look for, whenever you call inside the office, I'm always asking questions or probing or getting information to find out, what are you not telling me so I can help solve your problem? That's what we're here for. That's what you're out there in the workforce for, is to solve the problems for your clients. So 2 points. My first point is lack of knowledge. Now, I grew up, my grandmother, for those who was fortunate to be raised by their grandmothers, my grandmother used to always say, "Baby, my people perish for lack of knowledge." And she would say that very broad. I know where she was coming from with her Southern gospel roots, if you will, but she would still say that people don't know what they don't know. And so it always stuck with me, and I'd always applied it in different facets of my life. But this is what I also understood. People that don't know don't grow. If you don't know what your market is doing, if you don't see the ability to change, somebody will come in behind suit and follow and find out that formula and beat you to it. And then you're feeling, I missed out an opportunity, and then your plan or your vision then kind of spirals from there, because you're thinking, well, how much more time? Then you start focusing on a theory of saturation, where you're worried if everybody comes in, there's not enough meat on the bone for me to continue to thrive, etc. Right? And so with that, I said, how can they? If you are not submerging yourself with your interests, then you're not interested. And it's factual. I mean, you're not taking the time to know and see what the trends are. What are the opportunities? That's a detriment to your business, and we don't want that for you. So as you call in, or you're solving these problems in the marketplace, understand that we want to get it to you. That's the whole point with this. Pre-staining gives you the ability to solve a problem for the customer. So more as far as the knowledge of, always looks for those opportunities, and not just pre-staining. Let's bird's eye view this. Look for other opportunities to solve problems for the client. My second part is, people are concerned about, let's talk about what they say, a recession, or they're worried about, season changes or what have you, right? Etc. The list goes on and on and on. I just want to put this in perspective. Millionaires and billionaires rinse, repeat, time and time again. This is how they are fruitful continuously. Whether you're doing this part-time or full-time, this is for you. So hear me clearly. I'm going to give you a list of people that thrive during the said downtimes with whatever excuse one may make. These are the people that thrive. And I quote, accountants, child services, healthcare, auto repair, property management, home repair contractors like yourself, cleaning services, grocery stores, beauty groomers. These are barbers and beauticians, estheticians, all in the same family. Pet care, the dating industry. I like you. Hey, do you like me? Great. Thriving. Reception. Keep going. Tech support. Courier services, as we know, Amazon, FedEx, UPS, they will continue. Online selling and freelancing. There is no reason why you would not be able to be successful in any time step, no matter what's going on around you, where everybody else has found a way to capitalize. You don't pull back when things get tough. You go in. You go deep when it seems like things are like, you penetrate. You go inside to find the source of it, and you attack, just like our oil. Penetrates for the most integral part, and then works its way out to ceiling on the outside. You guys know this, right? And the last thing that I just want to mention on that is, it's been proven. It's been proven. Mm-hmm. How many times we've heard, if a wheel is not broken, if it's not broke, don't fix it.
Kurt, I've gotten 7 fence estimates for my job here today. Why should I use your company?
Well, why not? And that sounds blanket. It sounds actually arrogant and cocky. But here's the reason why. I want you to use us not because you may hear people tout that we're the best thing, or that because we have the customer service. I want to be able to give back something to you. That's the difference. What are we giving to you? You called in for me to solve your problem. You called in because you wanted to give us money to solve your problem. But just that exchange is not enough for me. I should 2x you. I should 3x you. I should 10x you. Sounds Grant Cardone-ish. But I should give you more than what you came with your initial response is. The reason why you want to do business with us is because when you leave here, you need to feel like I can go back to them for anything other than staying. If they have just day-to-day life, I just want to talk to somebody that can assist me. What more am I giving you than taking from you? You'll hear me say this time and time again. My responsibility is to get it to you, not to get it from you. Because thus, you'll continue to come back to the well to service, and then you'll permeate that in the workforce. And then it'll just be a trickle effect. Iron sharpens iron. You'll hear it all the time, and it's factual. If you're doing something to build me up and I'm doing something to build you up, it's just magnetic. It attracts people. And then it's not so much a business, it's a lifestyle. It's an encouragement. You're lifting people up. How many times have we heard people that came in and they wanted to start staining that they were living in their cars? They were living, didn't have a job. They know they're going to feed their family. They took one stain job, and then they've just applied the basic principles to stay consistent to the fact that. But guess what they didn't do? They didn't stop because there was a recession, because the weather was wintry out there. They kept moving. They kept finding ways. This is why pre-stainers win. This is the exact premise why pre-stainers win. They don't make an excuse for there being a deficiency. They don't take away from it.
The weather's bad outside. Every other guy's no longer doing it. Well, we offer pre-stain.
Boom.
There you go. Back to I got 7 quotes. Why use us? Well, we're the only quote who offers a pre-stained fence.
That's right.
And that's encouraging.
And I know you set that up for me, but I went the whole way around, guys, because I'm always going to talk to y'all about service. So I'm glad Kenneth brought that full service. And of course, that's what you're supposed to say, right? And he's right. That's what's supposed to happen. But what else? Because you were expecting that answer. You got more, because our job to get more to you than it is from staying from you.
I'll tell you a success story. Probably 2016, we did. We were going to do this big house. They were doing a construction project, and they were putting log siding and cedar shake siding on it on the front of it. And this house was humongous. You couldn't imagine how big it was. It was like a big rectangle box. It looked like almost like a hotel. Mm-hmm. But the sides and back had old Western red cedar siding on it. And the guy was planning to flip the property, and so he really wanted us to restore that and stain it. And I told the guys like, hey, you're not going to make this 30, because it was well over 30 years old. It's probably 40-year-old siding. I said, we're not going to make it look brand new. It's just not going to work. But what we can do is get it pretty darn good looking. We can make it look nice. And then he showed me what he was putting on the front of the house. Well, he had bought cedar D-log, not cedar, but D-log siding, and then cedar shakes to go in the whole front of the house. And it had been pre-stained, pre-finished. And the thing that just blew my mind was he said, yeah, we spent $75,000 to have this lumber pre-stained. And I thought, I'm out here killing myself on lifts, on ladders, and I'm getting a marginal result because the wood's so old. It was just so bad. And he's putting up brand new wood on the front, and he paid 5 times as much as what I'm charging right now. And I thought, and I went over and I looked at it, and the lumber, you could see it had brush marks in it. So they were using a water-based stain on it. And all of the lumber, they had set it on sawhorses, and they'd literally brushed it on. And I thought, man, we could do that with our eyes closed. I could train a monkey to do that. And here I am out here, risking my guys' lives up on the side of ladders. So that's when the pre-stain thing really kicked into me to say, hey, there's an opportunity, and it's not just fence pickets. It's log home siding. It's tongue and groove boards for ceilings. It's working with builders. It's working with supply houses and saying, hey, you guys sell more Western cedar and cypress and trim and things like that than anybody in the area. We pre-stain. How about I bring you some samples down here of your lumber that I bought out of my pocket and brought back to you as samples and said, hey, here's what we offer, and we'll turn it around for you in a couple days. If you're a stain contractor and you're worried about wintertime, opportunity is right now to start this pre-stain business.
And let's make no mistake about it. Let's not say that anyone that does, again, I'll go back full circle. Stainers, painters, pre-stainers, builders, what have you. Staining is awesome. It's a great way to solve a problem. People getting fences built every day, decks, pergolas. It's fantastic. We're talking to those that are also looking to go further. Because some people, again, it's just part-time work. That's fine. That's respected. But those that have made excuses for themselves, this is a wake-up call. No more excuses are necessary. Put yourself in a position to win. Look for opportunities. Don't retreat. Go deeper in. Find those solutions. So this is anyone that stains a great, fantastic. Everybody, that's opportunity. But for those that want to go above and beyond and continue to work during the off season, or when stainers or someone else may call it the off season, let's look for an opportunity to press and go deeper.
So, if you were the stain guy, be the stain guy. If you're in this business doing it, do it. If you're a fence guy, if you're a deck builder, if you're a log home builder, this is an opportunity to either find a stain guy who pre-stains and add that to your service offerings. Because guys, if you're a stainer, don't be worried about the fence guy who's going to start adding pre-staining, because if there were no fence guys, there would be no fences for us to stain. This needs to be a symbiotic relationship. So if you're a stain guy right now listening to this, call all your fence friends and say, hey, we want to pre-stain your lumber, and we want to stain all the other fences that you do that aren't pre-stained. If you're a fence guy, find the stain guy. Partner up. That relationship will make you both strong, and together you can be the strongest in the market that you're serving. So that's the way it goes. I want to take some questions, so I'm going to throw up the Q&A now banner, and we'll hit a couple comments that we got coming through. And by the way, I appreciate everybody listening and watching the show. We got quite a big audience for us. Yes. It's not Joe Rogan numbers, but we're getting close. So Justin Menendez, thank you for watching today. Appreciate you coming on.
Appreciate you, Justin.
It says the man, the myth, the legend, and then me. Kurt, you've reached legend status.
I don't know about all that, but the humility is strong here, so I appreciate it for whoever you've reached.
Yeah, so Dan Blanc, Fence King down in Louisiana, he pre-stained a black fence yesterday and installed it today. So there's your success story.
Boom.
Justin says it's never too cold for him. It does get cold in Nebraska. And so Mike D'Antonio, any streamlined, this is Nomad Fence up north, any streamlined treatment processes for cleaning wood before pre-staining? I'm sure there is, but I don't know of really, I don't think there's maybe this is an opportunity, but I don't know of much of an opportunity for cleaning wood before it's stained. Our goal is really to stain the wood before it gets to a condition to need cleaning.
Sure.
So that's, unless I'm missing something, that's what we're
It's a
doing.
great question, though, Mike.
Yes, sir. Jesse Lloyd. Jesse, I see you on the internet, man. Why haven't you tried Expert Stain and Seal? Give us a shot, man. It's made in Tennessee. Show us some love here in Tennessee. I'm sure you will not regret it. Truth Seeker, I know where you are. You're down southern Middle Tennessee. Are you able to pre-stain fresh pressure-treated pine? Yes and no. When lumber is green and wet, it's not going to absorb near as much of anything as it would when it's dry. So we have done some pre-stain jobs of treated pine. We've let it set out. It takes quite a while to dry, and we have gotten good result with that. But the time, it's a investment of time. It's not days, it's weeks to dry the lumber. However, you can do some water-based products. But you're going to get varying results, because if you pull boards out of a bundle and the ends are dry and the middle's soaking wet, you're going to get an uneven finish no matter what type of product you put on. So you may want to look at an air knife or something. If you were doing just strictly water-based coatings, or treated pine, you would probably want to use a penetrating water-based stain only, probably not a stain and sealer. You would just want to do a stain, and you would probably want to have an air knife in front of it to try if you don't know what an air knife is, it's look it up. It's an air knife. It will blow a stream, like a knife's edge of
Right.
air across those boards right before you put them in, and it would hopefully get any moisture off the surface of those boards. So it would be a little bit messy. You'd probably want to build a box around it, but an air knife is used in a lot of pre-stain operations, and it'd probably be pretty easy to rig one up, so you could do treated pine. Mr. William Sewell down in Texas, we appreciate you watching today. Justin Menendez says, "Fear kills the weak. One who's fearless will keep leading from the front and be successful."
Can we unpack that for a minute? So, and I want to recap real quick. I'm gonna say it again as Caleb just read it. Fear kills the weak. One who's fearless will keep leading from the front and be successful. The question that I have for everyone is, what is your definition of success? My definition of success is not predicated on having a lot of dollars or to be able to say we're the best staining. No, you guys identify our success when you go out and you come and you're successful. When you come back and make your next order, you guys identify us being successful and giving you the tools. You guys being here on this podcast and just listening to random thoughts from Caleb and Kurt shows that we are doing something to influence you to be more creative or desire to go out there and take care of your community. So leading from the front for me means just being willing to, anyone that knows me knows that podcast is not my thing. Caleb is getting on me for the longest time to jump on here, social media, all that stuff. But I have to, my passion to get it to you is so strong. We're talking on the phone. Some of you guys, I've talked on the phone for hours just to see where we are and what can we do to help you scale. And it may not look the same for everybody else. For some people, it may take hours. For some, it may be, hey, I got it, 5 minutes. But Justin, I agree with you, buddy. Being fearless and leading from the front. Hey, I'll be in the back. If I got to yell from the back to keep you pushing, I'll do so. But just keep marching on. And as Caleb is getting something pulled up here, I just want to encourage you guys to keep doing what you're doing, whatever position you're in. If you feel like if you're new and you're really trying to get your feet wet, or if you're you've been in the game for a while, just keep pushing and find those things, those gems. And also the Facebook tool, when you guys share those things, you have no idea who's watching and learning from you guys. You guys are the standard. So to me, that proves what success looks like. But I asked that question. Think about it. That's rhetorical. What is your definition of success? What does it look like for you?
For sure. Here's a quote from William. He says, "Can you speak to the idea of volume negates luck?" Sure, I think what that means to me is just what I've always done. I just knocked on as many doors as possible until someone answered. And I would knock on them over and over and over again. I'm the guy that calls up the office of Reba McIntyre and says, "Hey, is Reba there? I want to stain her fence." And it took me 3 years when we got her fence. And people thought I was crazy, but volume negates luck. So, here we are, an overnight success, right? And been at it 10 years. So,
Right.
What do you think about that?
Well, with that volume negates luck, I'll just simply say it's about being prepared, being ready, being the standard, offering solutions. Again, William, we've talked on the phone. offering solutions for those that they didn't know they had, solving the problems. They will word of mouth. They will work for you while you are sleeping. You make someone feel, you pick up the trash, you bring a cup of coffee, you do something other than you walk them the property, you show what's going on. That volume, they will be there. They will tell everybody about you. They will work for you while you rest. Now you're doing this, and so even if you have areas where there may be you slip up or you mess up, and I want to make sure I understand the question correctly. So you can call me later to see if I actually answer your question directly, but that will generate that volume. You'll have it, so nobody will be able to question you. It will just be, it'd be evident. It's self-evident. You're working, you're scaling, you're always pushing, and you're still going back and getting referrals from the people that you've already taken care of, while your org in this small spot has grown exponentially because you've just been able to be efficient. Thus, it takes away luck. Luck is not in the equation anymore. It's just volume or quality, just your procedure. It's your branding. It's William LLC. Luck is gone.
I got that. And my Fence Life podcast says, let's come on the show and talk about stain and how it's a margin booster. Happy to do that. Dan Mabry, he just says hello. And if you're a fence guy and you don't have if you don't have the setup to clean, make a friend with a pressure washer in the industry and have them do your cleaning. Right. It can get behind, and then you can go behind them and stain. That's also a good advice. Dan says, I'm looking to add wood restoration next year. Dan, next year is going to be next year, and it's going to be time to go to work next year. So why don't you consider doing some projects this fall, this winter, maybe on your mother-in-law's fence, maybe your fence at home, maybe your neighbor's fence or deck.
That's right.
And we'll walk you through it, and then you can come to February 8th and 9th to Staining University, and then you'll be locked and loaded, ready for a strong year. Don't wait till the last minute. Let's start on this today. Yeah. Justin says, success is your goals, taking care of your family and community, taking care of your employees and your community. I agree with that. Yep. You just have to keep laying the bricks all the way across the bridge and from where you are to where you want to be. That's good.
Build the airplane while you're in the sky, right?
That's what I've always done. I'm looking to add wood restoration this spring. I was at your class in PA. Awesome. My biggest problem is to nail down my pricing structure. I've got 2 or 3, maybe 4 podcasts about that specific thing on how to price things. It's very simple. The Futures Now, Mike D'Antonio says he was also at that event in PA. Reach out to my office, 615-785-1861, and we will get you a Staining 101 guide. And I'm looking to find one. I don't have one handy, but we've got the Staining 101 guide books. It'll talk about all the bidding, all of the things like that. And remember, guys, there's no substitute for the amount of work and opportunity there is out there to stain fences and decks that were out there, that are already there, but there is opportunity for you. And Proverbs 13:4 says, the soul of the lazy man desires and has nothing, but the soul of the diligent shall be made rich. So guys, go be diligent about your business and your family and your future. Please. And just get it done. If this whole podcast is not about pre-staining, it's about overcoming obstacles. I want to see you get the type of employees and grow the type of business that you want to pass down to your children, not that you want to sell as quick as you can and get away from. And that means overcoming challenges of weather, overcoming challenges of seasonality, overcoming the challenges of more work. You need more work, overcoming challenges. Pre-staining is one option that will overcome challenges. One is you got a sprayer, you can go stain fences. 2, overcoming challenge, you can clean dirty fences.
That's right.
With a power washer. Number 3, you can be pre-staining lumber for your client base out there. So, and there's 20 more. And I'm very much a niche guy. I like to pick my niche and stay in it, but broaden yourself just a little bit and be the all-encompassing stain guy. You want them to think of you anytime they get something done. So, closing, William says, it seems like the average fence price at $1,700 seems higher than my local market is willing to pay. Can you speak to lowering this or finding the homeowner so that can afford that price barrier? In Nashville, our average stain job is about $1,700-$1,800. I don't know what it is with you. I would recommend, if you're close to PA, that you call Mike D'Antonio. All of us guys work together and can speak on it to one another. So I would recommend that you guys go get coffee, go have a donut or something
He's in
somewhere
Texas.
and hang out. Oh, Mike Williams in Texas?
Yeah.
I thought he was a guy in PA.
No, he's in
Apologize.
Texas.
There's a lot of guys in Texas, and there's a lot of guys charging $1 to $1.25 a foot in Texas. A lot of guys charging 70 cents a foot in Texas. So we just need to look in your market and see what it looks like. And pre-staining may be the perfect opportunity for that. It's already strong in Texas,
Yep.
and if you're trying to get that cost down with pre-staining, you're going to use half the material and probably a third the labor. So pre-staining for the wind down in Texas may be a great way to get into the market. And there's no shortage of fence contractors who will take you up on adding a pre-stain option for them. So, guys, the way this show grows is by your 5-star reviews and by your sharing it. So if you're maybe you know somebody who owns a fence company or a deck company or log home company, and they've got a kid or a nephew or a son in law that they want to do something. Maybe they're not in their business, but they want to do something. Maybe wood restoration and wood care, being a wood care contractor, is a great way to get started. It's a great business. It's a low barrier to entry, but we definitely want to bring professionalism to that trade, and we'd be happy to help these people get started. And so if you know somebody like that, refer them to us. If you're in the business and you want to get better at the business, come to Staining University in February. I got some huge announcements. We've got a guest coming this year, 2 guests that are bigger than we've ever had before. And so I'm just going to leave some breadcrumbs here at that. But it's February 8th and 9th. We're going to have one person who's in the industry, specifically in the wood care industry, that's got a lot of really, really, really good knowledge, has written books on it and things like that. I bet you didn't even know that there were books about the wood care industry, and it's not Wizard of Wood. So we've got him coming, and I'll let the cat out of the bag on that soon. And then we've got another influencer. I'm going to say an influencer, but it's a guy that's very strong on the internet, but is in the trades and very similar to what we do, does a lot of staining, and it's going to be a really, really, really big announcement there for that one too. So guys, let's get together, and we'll see you at Staining University online.
Lastly, if you guys, thank you so much, family. We appreciate you guys for being here. It means the world to us that you would take time out of your busy schedules to sit down with 2 odd couples here sitting down this podcast. But notice the attention of the play on words, how pre-stainers win. I want to reorient your thinking. Pre-stainers, I want you to separate that. Just take the word pre. Pre is short for prepare. How prepared stainers win. You may have heard pre-staining wood. You may have heard going into your marketplace. What did you hear? What did you grab from it? So when you leave, you may rewatch this, or you're thinking about it, or you call in with questions. How pre-stainers win. It's actually a play on words for you to think. Is he talking pre-staining? Is he talking about being prepared? Is he talking about going and attacking my marketplace? What have I not thought about? That's what we want. We want you to think about expansion. Again, I reiterate, it's our job to get it to you. You guys have a blessed one.
Thank you, sir. Yep, that's it. If you're listening audio only, check us out, because this is streaming live on Facebook. 3 or 4 places on Facebook, on LinkedIn, and on YouTube. And you want to find out how ugly or how good looking we are, you just come onto the show and check it out. And like I said, share it, like it, and we will see you at Staining University.